Harold, the other issue, though, the bigger issue, and the one that I think ultimately the Democrats won't win by virtue of the fact that fear and reality will overtake morality, whether that's right or wrong. But isn't there a bigger question here about the safety of our country and the values that we are to be living by in this country?
There's no doubt that in a lot of ways, the declaration and opinion of the country about George Bush's presidency, including this, was November of last year, when people pushed the reset button in a broad and comprehensive way. President Obama going forward, there's no doubt we live by a certain set of values. The world has come to depend and rely on us to do certain things. And there were things that President Bush did that many people disagree with, even in his own party. But looking back is probably not the most helpful. And I think the president, the tone, again, he struck at the Summit of the Americas when he urged American foreign policy to look forward and not be stuck in the past. In his amazing inaugural address, where he said that we would reach out to those around the world who reached out to us, not with a clenched fist, but with an open hand. I think it's now time to move forward. Now, going forward, if the president wants to make clear what's acceptable and not acceptable, I think that he should. Matter of fact, I think the country comes to expect him to lay out a certain set of standards that his administration, his Justice Department, his military, his intelligence will follow. But to look back is probably not the most helpful right now for all of the reasons that have been articulated this morning.
And you know, Mika, if you look at the polls, it would be helpful. And again, we tell you to do things like this at home. Google Pew polls, and on the torture issue, what you see is a straight line. There's been a 50-50 divide on whether Americans support, quote, torture or not. We could have a long argument about what torture is, but it remains steady. Even through all of this mess over the past month or two, it's been 50-50 consistently. And Pat, only 25, and the same with the Washington Post poll, only 25% of Americans in the latest Pew poll say you can never use torture. This is another trouble with the Democrats because they live in a bubble. We in the media live in a bubble. People in Washington, D.C. live in a bubble. They don't understand that doing this comes at a high political cost.
Well, the political cost, and it's all about them, their values, beliefs. You cannot contradict them, even in reality. But I'll tell you this, what Bush and Cheney are doing, they do not apologize for what they ordered or authorized at all, and they're saying we kept this country safe for 7.5 years. Now, Barack Obama says we do no more of that. We're down to the Army Field Manual. Fine. He has to be held accountable now if they fail to get actionable intelligence in some situation where they don't ask him tough questions and an awful lot of innocent people get killed.
Well, they're not going to get any intelligence, Pat.
Well,
I can say that as a
that's not what they think is true.
They are not going to. Listen, here's the deal.
They think
there's a big difference between the FBI and the CIA. And you have FBI agents that have come out, and it's laughable, them criticizing the CIA. The CIA has nothing to provide these people when they come in. They can't say, I'm going to make your life easier. If you'll give me information, I'm going to cut your sentence. The FBI can do that. The CIA has to rely on what the CIA and people have relied on for years, what American interrogators in every war have relied upon.
What Robert Gibbs was saying on Meet the Press yesterday was that they don't know whether other means may be able to get the same information because... Why are you laughing?
No. Yeah, go ahead. Take that chance. If you want to take that chance.
See, that's why this is a no-win argument.
No, it is a no-win argument. You know why?
Because it's an argument of fear.
No, but see, hold on a second. You always talk about fear, Mika.
No, it's an effective argument.
Sometimes you have a reason to be fearful. If your house had been broken into...
I hear you.
Hold on, because you keep saying fear as if this is some there's irrational fear. And then there's rational fear. If you live in a neighborhood where people's homes get broken into and people get shot and killed at night and their items get stolen, and you're fearful that may happen to you, that's not irrational. That is fear, and you will support a stronger police presence in your home. If this country got attacked the way it did on September 11th, 2001, it is not irrational for Americans to fear that it might happen again. When you have Al-Qaeda out there wanting to do nothing but kill all of us, kill our families, destroy our cities.
And
Joe, can I say,
as they used to say, Joe, a neoconservative was a liberal who had just been mugged. You know,
listen,
but Joe, can I, all of a sudden, You change your views.
Yeah.
Can I inject two things? One, we have to remember, I respect and hold high those in our intelligence community, and certainly don't want to second guess here in April or early May almost what happened 7-8 years ago. But let's remember, our intelligence got it wrong in Iraq. One of the things that President Bush should have focused on even more was fixing that. President Obama will have that great responsibility. And two, you have to recall, throughout our intelligence community's history, they have done things that have been in the best interest of the country and some things that have embarrassed the country. I would remind you of one high profile when our intelligence agency, the CIA, was the one that shared with the apartheid-led government in South Africa where Nelson Mandela was before they incarcerated him for almost 2 decades. So as much as I hold high and hold in high esteem our intelligence community, and certainly don't want to second guess what they did to keep the country safe over the last several years, I think Gibbs's point yesterday deserves some credit. There may be other ways to do this. The president will be held responsible if they go about a different path and something, God forbid, happens here in America, which none of us want, Democrat or Republican. Well, but I think it's important to note that the intelligence community has not always been right.
I don't want to have a debate about the history of the CIA, but I do want to have a debate about what's happened since September 11th, 2001, and I can tell you what's happened. We figured out a hell of a lot about al-Qaeda. We've killed or captured 2/3, that was, God, 3-4 years ago, of al-Qaeda terrorists, men that we had no idea who they were, and there's been no attack here in the United States. Now, if you want to debate the morality of waterboarding, talking about putting caterpillars in boxes, making people sit down with their arms in the air, we can have that debate. We can have the debate on morality, but by every objective standard, the intelligence community has succeeded in cracking the code on al-Qaeda and preventing another attack in the United States of America. That, it seems to me, is without debate. So let's debate the morality of waterboarding and caterpillars and making terrorists sit down. And if it upsets you that a terrorist is forced to sit down and put his hands in the air for a while, okay, we'll have that debate, and I'm quite comfortable where that debate comes down between liberals and conservatives.
I happen to agree with you on that.
Thank you so much. Stay with us, Harold.